You're listening to Life as a Band Leader with Angela O'Neill and Outrageous 8 Records, where music meets real life and every story swings. From rehearsals to the spotlight, we're sharing the music, the mayhem, and the magic of leading a modern band.
Hey everybody, it's Angela O'Neill from Outrageous 8 Records and our podcast, which is named Life as a Band Leader. And today we are lucky enough to have Greg Curtis and Paul Litteral with us here today. And say, hey Greg.
Howdy.
Hey Paul, how you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you.
And so I wanted to have the guys on here today. Greg was my producing partner on this record that we just finished called The Literal Truth. And Paul Litteral, of course, was the artist on the record. It's a solo trumpet record. And I was really, as we got to making the record, I was very interested to hear some of their stories as lifelong musicians, be relevant to the subject of the podcast, which is how it is to be a band leader. But also, I'm interested in the stories that are about how it is to be in a band with a different person being the band leader and what those experiences are like. So, I guess my first question would be for you, Greg. You tell us your background a little bit in music and how you ended up here today.
Oh, well, hi. Thanks for having me on. I grew up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and entered life as a musician around fifth grade. So, long story short, I grew up as a musician, and then I was building speakers, playing in churches. My high school band was good enough that we played at the Holiday Inn and functions around our bustling community for a little money, even in high school, the jazz band. College, University of Wisconsin, Madison undergraduate performance, played in lots of groups there. And then I switched over to Milwaukee, where I was a front of house engineer at some local clubs and then with a production company, also playing in a million groups around the Midwest, Chicago, La Crosse, Indiana, Ohio, wherever I could play, lots of different bands.
And your instrument was
Extremely busy.
trumpet as well, always, or did you have multiple instruments?
I played trumpet, but I also played bass in a indie rock band in the 90s. And I was one of the founding members of that. And that was kind of instructional from a band leader standpoint when you have
What
four
insights did you
members.
get from being in that band?
Just getting people to show up is one of those things. When you're all in college and you're all in the young 20s and a gig is in a faraway place, maybe
Yeah.
Chicago, maybe Indianapolis. Is everyone going to be there for the downbeat? That kind of thing. Just getting people's acts together.
Yep.
And even by going to their homes and picking them up, no matter what their state is of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
consciousness or unconsciousness, getting stuff done. Uh, Politely put, that's what I learned from that, and just getting out and doing it, hitting the road, and
What
dealing with
what
club
kind of
owners.
disasters took place when you were trying to put that band together? What was like
Oh, we got ripped off.
isolating?
We had a big opening set for a band called De Kreutzen, which is a kind of a modern heavy metal band that was pretty big in the 90s. So we opened for them. A guy named, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say his name because he's still alive. He promoted that event,
Mhm.
and I I was supposed to get the money, and he basically just ripped us off completely, and
Oh
I had to go
wow.
back
So
to the band
nothing.
empty-handed. I
Oh,
felt bad because I should have just stood my ground and maybe taken it up a few notches, but I don't know. And when you're
in
tearing,
order to do the collection from him?
yes, like
Yeah.
threatened violence.
Yeah.
But after having just come off the stage, packing up instruments, loud rock club, De Kreuzen's up there playing, and then asking for our take, I said, "Oh man, I had to split it between promotion and all these a million excuses,
Right.
and we were just lucky to get the gig." So I'll never forget walking back to the band with empty pockets and having to explain myself.
Oh yeah.
That was
Definitely.
not cool. So that left an indelible impression. I was like a 22-year-old guy just trying to play bass.
Figure it out.
Uh, Yeah. So I got through that. I went to North Texas for a master's degree, and then came to LA to be the next studio musician du jour out here in LA.
Yeah. Paul, do you have any stories like that of being in a band now? So everybody knows. Paul, you can tell them about how you kind of got here, but we ended up running into each other after you'd been in the Uptown Horns on the East Coast, and then came to the West Coast to do a solo career without the Uptown Horns. And how did you end up here today?
Oh, well, I got to LA out of New York. I was there during 9/11. And luckily, the February after 9/11, I got a call from two producers out here, Daryl Ross uh, and Tony Joseph. And they had a deal on Jill Scott's label for this band called Unwrapped. And Unwrapped was a hip hop jazz band that did covers of hip hop tunes, but where the raps were, they substituted solos
Oh, got it.
for the raps.
Hmm.
But we had singers and background singers, and it did quite well. They had like 4 albums they did, and I did a tour with them to St. Lucia and stuff, and that's what got me out here. And then I had to meet people out here because they asked me to relocate. And I think because of 9/11 and everything, I was kind of ready to
Yeah.
make the jump. I'd flown in and out of here all the time and played everywhere. The Bowl. I played every club out here with big groups. Henry Fonda Theater. Uh, yeah, uh, it was very cool. But I actually got to record out here a bunch of times. But I was so insular when I was out here recording
Yeah.
because I didn't get a chance to meet anybody and they didn't want me to meet anybody. They just wanted to get us in and get us out. And I understand why. It's a very tight town as far as studio work is concerned. Everybody is, yeah, they got an edge to them about they should have been on.
Territories.
Yeah, they should have been on the gig. It should have been their gig.
Yes.
Right.
And yes, they could have done it. But I always had to say, yes, you could have, but you didn't. So there, it's over. Can't go back.
Right.
Milk, all that. Let it go. Uh,
So when you were
but anyway,
when you were in New York and working with the Uptown Horns,
yeah,
you guys actually toured with a lot of different acts. The Uptown Horns did, and
totally.
you must have seen a ton of different band leaders and how they managed to do, that's the least of it. Make everything, get everyone to the gig, make sure everything's there, and collect the money. Right? Those are the three
Well,
crucial elements.
I did a gig with Solomon Burke in Washington, D.C. And it turned out to be a live album. And it was an album that won him a Grammy, actually. And he didn't really put this thing together at all. It was so amazing. Like I got to work with a lot of like old R&B guys back then because there was this Irish bar in Manhattan that the guy every summer would put on like a little mini festival, and over the weeks he'd have 3 different R&B singers, Rufus Thomas, Carla Thomas, Syl Johnson, Solomon Burke, and they were all wonderful, wonderful. Had big hits back in the day, huge hits. Um, but Solomon was a real character. There are stories about Solomon, like back when he was happening with his band, he was one of those guys that would take the band and rush them into the bus right after the gig and try to get them out of town. And when they got out of town, he would break out a cooler with sandwiches and Cokes and sell it back to the band. So he could get some of his money
Wow.
back.
He understood vending at that point.
Yeah. And so this gig in DC was quite a big gig for him. I mean, like he got picked up on a label after that and then did movies, but he was such a character. So after this gig we did, which was packed for both nights, and it was a live truck outside Greg, like doing the recording. And after we finished, the guys said they had to go back. They asked if I would wait over and meet Solomon at his hotel to get the money.
Uh-oh, back to
Ah,
the money.
So I went to the hotel and I waited.
Oh no.
I really waited,
Uh-oh.
waited some more. I waited till it hurts. And he just didn't show up.
Oh man.
But the good thing about it is we did get paid for it finally. And it was weird how we did. We got paid not only for the gig, but for the live recording. And we wrote out a contract on a napkin and he signed it and it held up. And he won a Grammy for that record. That was a great record. I think it's called Soul Alive, Solomon Burke, at the Phoenix One in Washington, D.C.
That's cool, man.
It was a very cool gig, but it was fucking painful waiting for him to give me the money, man. I was like, so, and then I had to go back and explain, well, I didn't get the money, guys.
Right. Right.
You know, I
Exactly.
hated that. I really hated that. The only other time I was a leader was on the Honey Drippers tour. I was doing a sub for a friend of mine at the Big Apple Circus. So on a break from playing for elephants, I got to run over on my break to a hotel nearby where Robert Plant was and try to sell us for this tour. And I don't know how I did it. I just got really lucky that I talked a bunch of shit and he took it. So I was lucky. I was lucky I got that gig.
So yeah,
And we got that gig there. He was a very unusual guy too, but I really liked him. I heard a million Zeppelin stories.
so that's a part of it too, of anytime you're in a, authority position in a band, is getting the gigs. Obviously,
Oh yeah, yes.
that's a
Selling
huge,
yourself so you get the gig.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Greg, any stories that you remember about trying to get gigs with your band, trying to meet a club owner and talk them into it?
not really. Not really. That was, I've been blessed by being in bands with people who are incredibly proactive. And you, Angela, are one of those people. I'm kind of more meet me at the back door, afterwards kind of guy. But
Yeah.
I'm not out there cold calling and knocking on doors. The rock band I was in, I had a guy named Tinker who was the lead singer and who wrote most of the songs. He would be out there and he would get us gigs all over town. We had standing gigs in Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, and everything. So it was almost like there's no room to interfere
Right, right,
with whatever
right.
he
There
was
does
doing.
kind of have to be, in order for it to be efficient, there does kind of have to be one boss, more
Indeed.
or less. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a kind of a good trait to know to recognize that. I guess I don't want to boil it down like alphas and betas and stuff, but if
Yeah.
someone's doing a good job, and
Yeah.
unless you can do it better or you have some pertinent advice,
Yes, yes. And
sit back.
do you have any nightmare stories, band leaders that you worked for who were particularly quirky or eccentric or anything like that, just in your journey of being a player?
Just oddball characters. I've never been stiffed on a gig, although I hear about it all the time.
Yeah.
As a player, I've kind of got a radar for grifters or for shady characters. I tend not to hang out with them or get involved.
Yes.
But there's been a few guys in town who do gigs in Vegas and stuff, and I hear guys at rehearsals. You've got paid yet? Nope. Oh, okay, that was
Right.
3 months ago. um, just oddball stuff like strange diets or bizarre behaviors, and smelly kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
just juvenile stuff. I've never been stuck
Personal
in a
hygiene,
really
those
bad
kinds of
band.
things.
I've never been stuck too long in any bad situations,
That's good. That's
fortunately.
good. Paul,
But I can think.
does that remind you of any situations that you were in, kind of quirky? You don't have to give names, but any quirky or funny band leader stories with you guys?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I've been in with big time characters.
Any good
Uh,
stories about that kind of stuff?
Actually, I mean, you don't want me to say names? I can say
You
names.
can if you want.
I'm old enough to say names. I mean, what the hell,
Do it.
What is
Uh,
that?
Iggy Pop was quite an unusual band leader.
Okay, tell me some Iggy Pop stories.
Well, we did the Houston, me and Arno actually alone, just the two of us, played on Houston is Hot Tonight.
Mhm.
And I thought the album was great. It was engineered and I think produced by Tom Panunzio. Do you know him, Greg?
Know the name, don't know
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's
Good
from out
stuff.
here. He's from out here, but we were doing it at the record plant in New York.
Okay.
And Iggy was running around the control room with a bottle of Johnny Walker.
Already, this is going to be a good story.
And as we went on, and it went on because we were doing the whole record as a head chart.
Oh,
He would say, "Come out and give us words of encouragement, like you guys are ugly. I'm going to make you beautiful,"
Oh,
which are, you know, uh,
kind of what you're
really,
looking for as a
really nice of him to try to offer that. But
he's a
he
good
really
man.
doesn't
He's a
tell
good
us how he
heart.
wants what he hears on the songs so much. But one thing about him was that when you played something that he liked, he would really chime in and say he liked it. But he would never stay in the control room for very long. He was running in and out of the control room all night. And we did that record all night. By the time we got out of there, it was sunshine. And
Wow.
we were glad we had sunglasses.
Wow. So basically, you cut that record in a night.
And a night. And it was like 5 tracks or something. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was. It was
Yeah.
really incredible. And yeah, him, that was something. I did a gig at the Lone Star with Kinky Friedman. That was a trip.
Where is the Lone Star, first off?
The Lone Star used to be on 6th Avenue
Okay.
and in the 30s in the Garment District. But
Okay.
now it's no longer there. And they had a big lizard like on top of the building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like that was their, the thing everybody knew where the Lone Star was.
Right, because of the lizard.
And the stage was weird. And I played with Albert Collins there too. That was great. But the stage was weird because it was as high as the bar and probably about 5 feet from the bar. And the rest of the thing spread out on the side where people would stand, and upstairs. They could be upstairs looking down on the stage.
Hmm.
But it was the weirdest layout. It was really shotgun, kind of straight through, kind of a place.
Mm-hmm.
And Kinky was a trip. It was in the 80s, so I'll say no more than that.
It was very kinky. Like
It was very kinky. His tunes were like Asshole from El Paso.
I remember Kinky Friedman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of novelty, but
It was a
serious.
novelty. Yeah, novelty and serious. Later got into politics.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow,
Yes.
of all things.
Well,
Is he
I mean,
still
it was
around?
perfect. Let me say this. If there was a guy that should have been in politics, it should be Kinky Friedman.
Really? And why is that?
Because politicians have to be able to spin a yarn.
Right.
Ah, a storyteller.
A storyteller. Storytelling is very important
Yeah.
which is amazing how we are now because I don't see as many storytellers as I used to in politics, but that's another thing.
Yeah, that is another thing. So kind of bringing us towards modern times now. The three of us all connected because we really wanted to do a record that was very trumpet centric, and because we have a producer in Greg Curtis who's a trumpet player and obviously an artist who's a trumpet player, and so we've had a lot of good stories during the making of this record, I think. Just trying to get it together, trying to, if you're a band leader, one of the things you also do is not just live shows, right? You put together recordings and you put together, a record like we did. And it's such an interesting process when you are just trying to organize everybody to get to a certain goal. We had a pretty good idea, thanks to you, Paul, of what songs we wanted to be on the record. Paul, you had a really good sense of that from the beginning, I think. How did you come up with the tunes that you wanted on this record? It started with Follow Me, and I remember the day well when you told me we were just going to do a single and we weren't going to do any other tunes. And here we are, we finished a record. I don't know exactly how that happened. But how did you come up with Follow Me? And then how did you come up with the rest of the song list on the record?
I picked songs that were actually that either really touched me or meant something to me. And I came up with the concept of how to do them by trying to look at them from a more modern take, but a modern take with the band.
Mhm.
And because I had spent most of my career in the band, and then I tried to I wanted it to be jazz rocky, but not so jazz rocky that I could lose listeners uh, from just. It seems like, and it's not losing listeners because the stuff isn't good. Everything, people who do records play great solos and are great musicians and great instrumentalists. But we are in a society, because of video games and other things, of short attention span theater.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to do solos on this record, but any solos I wanted to do short, just to keep the listener in, but get them also to get into the whole uh, production of the piece.
Mhm.
And so and I wanted to do these covers, but make them our own in my own way. And I think with all the great people involved, which you were there too, Angela, you sang beautifully on several,
Thank you.
and uh, we achieved that with Greg. I could explain, or Greg could tell me, oh, I don't think we could do that, or I think we could do this, and you guided me too, of it. From the three of us putting our heads together, we actually honed it into something that I'm really very proud of how it came out.
Yeah, I am too. Very proud. I think the sound is really good. And that is really, I mean, thanks to Greg Curtis. Greg, you really developed a sound,
Totally.
a sonic style on this record that I think is very distinct. As we were coming together, I mean, again, this wasn't something we spent 2 years planning and we're like, oh, this is going to be our, sonic approach to this record. We were a little bit triagey in the way that we made this record, in that we were figuring out as we went along, which I think you end up doing no matter how much you plan anyway. But as far as that goes, Greg, what was your kind of approach to this record, as far as from a production standpoint? What were your goals to try and give this a particular sound?
Well, it started with Follow Me, Well, it started with a call from Paul. Hey man, you want to get involved with this record? I was like, yeah. So he hit me with Follow Me, which is derived, it's a John Denver song, I believe.
No, no,
And not originally.
no.
Okay.
We thought it was. No,
Yeah.
I didn't think it was. I knew it wasn't. I knew it was a Rodrigo.
Well, it's based on the Naranas, the Suite de Naranas by
Yeah.
Yes.
Rodrigo. But I guess it's been adapted over the years. The adaptation you were inspired by, was it from an anime film?
Yes, it was.
And that kind of set my mind to work. Have this kind of grandeur and ethereal, like almost outer worldly. Okay, so I was like,
Yes.
okay, this is a concept. And I know you as a player, you're a very direct player. You speak quite clearly, but here's something that's more thoughtful. So I was like, okay, this will be a trip. Let's do it. So yeah, setting that up as the first song that I did. And at that time, we weren't sure whether it was going to be the first song or the last song. It was kind of talk about it being the intro to the album. So that's
Mhm.
wild. So that kind of set a template. And then we got to, songs that were already kind of in the can, and then a bunch we had to do at a studio.
Mhm.
Like Home at Last, which is a big lush tune. or then you have Do It Again, which is kind of pointy and fun, and then Ghost Town. You know, so here's a pastiche of stuff. So everything had to work and make sense. And I think the album really works as a flow from 1 to 10. Now with Follow Me at the end, I really do like it there because it's
Yeah.
like follow me, like literally. And it's for the third album, right?
Yeah.
So and it leads it out, which is really cool. But the idea of maintaining that, it is something that develops through the album, but you have to stick with a good recording, just faithful to the artists and musicians. And there are ways you can do that. And then as the songs come in and you're putting them together at home, editing and starting to mix or develop concepts of what the mix should be, everything starts to make sense once you do like 3 songs, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So you start out with a basic, this sounds good template for a horn band, whatever that is. So it starts generic, and then it becomes its whole as the project takes shape. And that's why you can't do these over a weekend. I think we took a few months, right?
Yeah,
we did.
You can do it over a weekend, and I've done it, but it just becomes a product that's, this thin. You want something that's fat and, sturdy and will last,
right.
Your career, your life. That's worth listening to again, not just once.
Yeah.
That's what I like about this album. And, we keep getting updates on how it's doing, and it's hitting the charts and it's staying there and then it's rising up. So it's like people are actually listening to it over and over again. So the replayability speaks to a concept of building the sound from the beginning that makes sense and then adapting it to what you think is the concept of the album. You look at the songs, how do they flow into each other? It's just derived from a lifetime of being a musician and hearing music and knowing who you're dealing with, and then having great input from Bill Bodine, from Angela, from Paul, Rocky, from guys who have been in the band a while, know where they think it's headed to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a collaborative thing, but there's always a guidepost. You want to make it sound. You could hear any track from the album, say, I know what album that's from. That kind of story. So that's in my little synopsis of that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good synopsis. Paul, do you have anything to add to that? To what Greg was saying?
Oh no, I totally agree with what he's saying, and then I think that the great thing about this is the album does sound like a band.
Yeah.
It's not just me throwing everybody together and doing it. They sound really involved, and you get to hear their personalities in it. Yeah. And that's what's great about it.
The world is littered with bad trumpet albums. And I didn't want this to be one.
What's that?
I did not want this to become on that pile.
Yeah.
I would have
not necessarily bad, but like you hear it once, you're like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah. That was enough of that one.
Yeah. And I don't know how that works, but
well, I think you said the word that is the most crucial word, Greg, which is, if I was to give advice to somebody who was just starting a band and they were, saying our band needs a record, I would say take your time doing it if you can, so that you can get a little perspective on things. One of the things that's hard to explain to people is how much stuff changed. We would record something and then we would go, that's not working, and have to redo it. And you need quite a few kind of perspectives on things, individual perspectives, I think, to come up with the best product. So I would say if there's any one word I would recommend to any musician who wants to put a record together, I would say find some great collaborators, and then have another handful of friends outside of the group who's working on the project who can give you, unbiased feedback on how it really sounds, because you lose your perspective at some point in it. You start, rationalizing that things sound a certain way because, it was hard that day or whatever it was. And so I think it's, that is a crucial part of any record that you want to make. So if you're a band leader and you're wanting to put a record together, I would say find a great team of people, however the chemistry works, so that you are really committed to it, that those people are going to show up for you. You're not going to have to pick them up at their house. They will show up independently, and be committed to the project. That's a really crucial part of it. And then be willing to collaborate. I think we gave each other feedback sometimes some of us didn't like at some points. I mean, Paul and I famously had disagreements over Dying to Live from the very beginning, and I didn't want to do that song, and he talked me into it, and I think it came out really beautifully. And so I was against it with a capital A. I just want to let the record show. And I just told him I'll do the best I can. And sometimes when you're doing a project together with people that's an artistic project, you can't feel or see you can't see the vision that the other person is having. You have to trust those people that it's going to work out. And I think that record, I think that particular song worked out because Paul believed 100% that it would, and Greg, then you made it sound really magical. So I think all of those things, as it applies to making a record together, are also true. I think another thing that we did, I would advise people to do if they have the ability, is what you did, Greg, was at the end of the record when we were trying to figure out what order the tunes would go in and kind of listen to them, to do a super mix with varying orders, and listen to make sure that the tail end of one song met the beginning of the next song elegantly, and all that stuff. And these are all things that, it's life as a band leader, yes, but actually it's many people as a band leader, right? It's that collaborative effect. And so I just wanted to mention to people that we did just finish this record. We did just submit it to the Grammys for consideration, and we're very grateful to anyone who has listened to the record and considered the best alternative jazz album category for us. And it really was a labor of love. We really enjoyed making the record together, and I'm really grateful that we got a chance to do that. So
Angela,
yes, Paul.
I was just going to say that what's really crazy when you were talking about sales and everything earlier with records and stuff.
Mhm.
What seems to me to be the saddest today, unlike the 80s. The 80s had a point where independent labels came along, really small labels, and would make records like the Specials started out on a small label.
Mhm.
And they would promote it enough, and you had people back then that were actually really interested in new things in a way that they would try them. And it seems that you could sell more records back then without having the behemoth of Capitol or
Right.
a record company like that, or Warner Brothers, who, let's face it, most of those records in the 80s, even big records, they would buy the first 100,000 records. The label would.
Yeah, 100%.
So that they would convince people, oh, look, 100,000 records have been sold.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that that's what was really going on. It means that they juiced it. They
Yeah.
primed the
Yeah.
pump.
Yeah.
And it's too bad today, because not only is there your label out there, but there are a lot of little indie labels now
Yeah.
that people would have a chance to listen to music without spending the same amount of money that you would on a major label's record or
Mhm.
download or whatever, and you can get great quality music. So it's just my little commercial to the public out there that, take a chance and go out there and listen to things. Not only this record, but other independent records, and see what's out there. It's a way to, shape music in a good way, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's well said. Yeah, I think it would be great if people were more exploratory, even in as much that they must use the streamers, which we all do. They're very convenient. If you hear a new artist who you like on the streamers, please go investigate and pay for the record. They're not very expensive, and it really helps it so there will be new music. Because at some point, there'll be a stopping point where it's not sustainable for people to even make any new music because the streamers basically own everything. So I
Right.
don't want to end on that bummer of a note, I just want to say I really have enjoyed talking with you guys today. I think there's great experiences that I think would help people who are just getting into the music industry as far as gigs go. Our first lesson is always collect the money. Always. Know where the money person is. Find them. Don't talk to anyone. Don't give anybody a hug. Don't tell them thank you for coming. Go find the money person and collect the money. That is
Right.
the first and most crucial law that everyone knows as a band leader. And then, as an addendum to that, don't ever cheat your players. Oh my God. Really? That's my own personal note. Don't do that. It's such bad karma. And then what would we say the second thing is, Greg? You pick the second thing, most important as a band leader, either as it applies to live shows or producing a record.
Go to a gig or approach each project, whether it's a gig or an album, with enthusiasm and be there for that moment, because you never get it again. And one thing about Angela is that she has as much energy as I've ever seen packed into in a human being. And so she's there in the moment, and that makes a huge difference. If the band sees a leader that's okay, man, it ain't gonna happen. You have to be the band leader and make it happen. Go at it with a huge enthusiasm, because everyone picks up on that in the band and the venue and the promoter, and even the bartender. You might get a free drink out of it. No.
Well, there's that.
Have some energy, have some life, because that's what music is. It's connecting with people. So get up, be really proactive.
Okay, Paul, you're up. What is the third hallmark of our conversation today that's most important for our future band leaders and record producers?
Well, be a good listener to the other members of the band. Make them feel like they're a part of the whole process, and try to give their ideas credence too. And even if they're not used in the end, you can always try them and see. And it makes a person feel more excited about being there, I think. And also, I have to say and concur with Greg, what he said about you, Angela. Had you lived during World War II, it would have been a lot shorter if you'd have been in charge, because you know how to organize and make things happen.
Oh, wow.
And I really have to say that.
Yes.
Well, thank you both. That's very kind of you. It really was an amazing experience. I thought we achieved miracles in the amount of time that we had to put this record together. The two of you were amazing co-workers. None of us, I don't think any of the three of us would have finished it without the other. So I'm very
No, I don't either. Yeah, I agree.
Very, very grateful to both of you, and I'm grateful that we finished. I mean, that is the fourth thing that is the most important about musical endeavors. Finish them.
Wrap it up.
Don't start something unless you plan to finish it. That is because I think it tells the universe that gives the universe the wrong impression. I think if you start things that you don't finish.
Absolutely.
And I'm really, really grateful that we were able to finish the record, and I think it turned out really well. And I am so thankful to you guys for joining me today on Life as a Band Leader. I think we got some good stuff to share with folks about not just your journeys as musicians, but our journeys that we find ourselves here in October of 2025. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and great job on the podcast here, and I hope the folks enjoy. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Life as a Band Leader. We hope you had as much fun listening as we did making the music. If you loved what you heard, go ahead and hit follow, share it with a friend, and make sure to get tickets to the next show. Visit outrageous8.com for upcoming shows, music, and a little more band madness. Until next time, keep swinging, keep smiling, and keep the music alive.